The wind howled low through the trees. Welcome to the channel where I share creepy and scary stories that understand. Chills. Rowan gripped the handle of horror and spooky tales. His breath make sure to subscribe and join me every week for a new story. The wheels creaked. Let's get into the dark side as he dragged firewood back toward the village. It had happened again. The miller's sheep were found torn apart, not eaten, not hunted, just mutilated. Skin peeled back, bones snapped inward. No tracks, no blood trail, just the wind and silence. As Rowan passed the edge of the woods, he stopped. There, on the bark of an old pine, were marks, deep, symmetrical, not claw marks, not blades. Something had burned its shape into the wood. A perfect hand. 5 long, thin fingers. No thumb. He stared. Then something moved behind him. He turned, fast. But there was only snow, and the rustling of a raven lifting off from a dead branch. "God's teeth," he whispered, forcing a breath. He had heard the rumors. A beast that walked like a man. The butcher said it had no eyes. The priest claimed it fed on sin. But Rowan had never believed in monsters. Until now, back in the village, the air felt heavier. Chimneys puffed smoke, but no laughter echoed in the square. Children no longer played past dusk. People locked their doors at sundown. Rowan passed by old Marek, sharpening blades outside his cottage. "You were in the woods?" Marek rasped. Rowan nodded. "Marek's one good I fixed on him. Best let the woods be. That thing doesn't take kindly to being seen." Rowan hesitated. "You believe it?" "I've seen it, boy. Pale as bone, thin as a whisper. It moves without sound, and when it finds you, it changes." "Changes what?" "You." That night, Rowan couldn't sleep. Outside, the wind picked up again. And then a noise, a scraping against the walls. Something outside. Slow, deliberate. He reached for the iron poker by the hearth, crept toward the door, and opened a crack. Nothing. But then a shape moved beyond the fence. Tall, smooth, like shadows stretched too far. And for a brief moment, Rowan saw its face. Flat, white, featureless, except for the mouth, too wide, too still. Then it was gone, but not unseen. Rowan stood in the doorway long after the shape vanished, frozen not by the cold, but by something far worse, recognition, not of the creature itself, but of a memory, a dream he had as a boy, a pale figure, faceless, standing over his bed. He had dismissed it as a nightmare. But now, the next morning, the village awoke to screams. Young Bryn, the baker's daughter, had gone missing. No signs of struggle. No blood, just her shawl, snagged on a tree near the woods, and a strange, black slime on the ground beneath it, like ink but thick and reeking of iron and rot. Rowan helped the search party. Dogs refused to follow the trail. The priest said it was a test from the heavens. But Rowan knew better. This was not of this world. That night, he went to see the old healer woman, Mydra. She lived just beyond the village's edge, surrounded by charms and bones, half feared, half needed. "You've seen it," she said before he even spoke. Rowan nodded. She turned slowly, showing him an old book, bound in bark, pages stitched with animal sinew. "It's not new. It comes once every few generations. Not an animal, not a man, not a god. Then what?" "A traveler." Mydra opened to a page depicting something almost familiar. Tall, narrow, a white face without eyes or nose, just a slit mouth. "It doesn't eat to live," she whispered. "It consumes to remember. It is alone forever, and so it collects us thoughts, faces, fears. It becomes what we fear." Rowan's throat tightened. "So it wasn't just watching me. It was learning me." "Yes." "Then why now? Why come back?" She hesitated, fingers trembling over the page. "Because something must have awakened it. Something human." That night, Rowan returned home, thoughts racing. And in his dreams, he stood again in the forest. The creature stood before him, unmoving. But this time it spoke. "You are hollow, just like them. You can hold me." Rowan woke with blood in his mouth, and a single word carved into the wood beside his bed. "Soon," was not a promise. It was a warning. The word carved into the wood beside Rowan's bed was deep and deliberate, not scratched with a knife, but burned, seared into the timber as if by an unseen heat. That morning, the village was silent. Too silent. Even the crows that usually perched above the roof were gone. The cold had grown deeper, but the firewood Rowan had stacked the day before was missing. All of it. In its place were prints in the snow. Not footprints. Not hooves. Long, finger-like impressions. Dozens. He ran to the square where the town bell hung. No one had rung it in years, only for births or deaths. Rowan pulled the chain hard, and the rusty clang echoed across the stone walls. One by one, villagers emerged, tired, frightened, clutching tools and torches. "We need to leave," Rowan called out. "This thing is not a wolf or a bear. It's something older, something that doesn't belong here." The priest stepped forward, robes trembling. "You speak of heresy, boy. I speak of survival." Rowan said, "Bryn is gone. The woods are cursed. That thing wants inside our homes, our heads." Old Marek stepped forward, holding an axe. "I saw it last night, staring through my window. No face, just listening." The crowd muttered. Rowan continued, "We have to trap it, or find where it's hiding." "No." Mydra's voice cut in, emerging from the fog. "You do not trap what does not live. You follow it if you dare." That night, Rowan, Marek, and two others, Lothan the hunter and Sarah, a quiet stable hand, set off toward the eastern woods. The trees bent unnaturally as they walked. No wind, no animals, just stillness, as if the woods were watching. Sarah shivered. "We shouldn't be here." Lothan nodded. "Tracks here. Deep. And this." He held up a tuft of something like skin, but it shimmered, almost translucent, like jelly stretched thin. Then Rowan saw it. Not with his eyes, with his mind. A flash. A chamber beneath the earth. Curved walls. Symbols not of man or God. A cocoon pulsing in the center. And something inside it watching him back. He collapsed to his knees, gasping. "What did you see?" Marek asked. Rowan could barely breathe. "It's not alone." In the dark between the trees, a whisper drifted toward them. "You remember me now." Then silence. But from the shadows, something stepped forward, its shape wrong, flickering, as if light didn't know how to bend around it. And its face, that blank white mass of skin, mask. That was the only word that stayed in Rowan's mind as the shape retreated into the woods. Not a disguise, no. It was a face, a design of skin, muscle, and control. It wore humanity like clothing. Behind it was something alien, hungry, and intelligent. The others stood frozen. Even Marek, the old axe-wielder, gripped his weapon like it was straw. "It didn't attack," whispered Sarah. "No," Rowan said. "It studied us." They returned to the village in silence. That night, the dreams worsened. Rowan found himself in a place made of metal and bone. No walls, no floor, just sound, a low hum like a dying star breathing. And in front of him, hundreds of masks, all white, all faceless, and one of them had his own face. He screamed, woke up with blood under his fingernails. Mydra visited him in the morning. Her eyes looked sunken, like she hadn't slept in days. "It's begun," she said. "The feeding. The more fear it spreads, the more it can become." Rowan's hands trembled. "Why me?" "Because you touched its memory. You're inside its nest now, and it's growing." Later, Marek returned from the woods with what remained of Lothan. A head, twisted backward. No blood, just skin peeled, like someone had wanted to see what fear looked like from the inside. Rowan made a decision. We can't fight it. We can't trap it. But maybe we can understand it. He turned to Mydra. "You said it's not alone. What else is there?" Mydra stared into the fire. "There's a ship buried beneath the Blackroot Hill." "A ship? A place not made by gods or men." And Rowan knew that's where it all began, and where it must end. End, but not of the creature. The end of silence. That night, Rowan heard voices. Not from the villagers. Not from Mydra. From beneath. Beneath the floorboards. Beneath the soil. Beneath the bones of the hill. It whispered in echoes not meant for ears. We were never gone. We are always becoming. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't even blink without seeing the cocoon pulsing behind his eyes. By morning, the decision was made. He would find the ship. Marek refused to follow him. You'll go mad, he warned. That hill was cursed before your grandfather's bones cooled. Mydra only handed Rowan a pouch of bitter root and a blade of dark iron. If you see your reflection, do not trust it. Rowan climbed Blackroot Hill alone. The trees thinned, the wind died, and in the clearing stood something no villager had ever dared describe. A spire, half buried, formed of black stone and a metal that drank light. Symbols etched along its base glowed faintly, not drawn, but grown. The air buzzed around it like a beehive breathing. He stepped forward. The earth opened. Inside, the tunnel descended like a spiral vein. The walls pulsed faintly, as if the stone was alive, or watching. At the center, the nest, Rowan fell to his knees. There, hung from the ceiling, were shells, empty husks, people-shaped. Some had faces, villagers. Others had none, still forming. And in the middle stood himself. No, it wore his shape, his smile, his breath. We are not what you fear, it said. We are what you hide. Rowan raised the iron blade. The creature smiled wider. If you strike me, will you bleed? And then the light vanished. Only voices remained. And screams. Screams asterisk asterisk echoed in the blackness. But they weren't Rowan's. They came from behind the walls. From the cocoon bodies. From inside his own memory. Then light, dim, flickering like a heartbeat. He opened his eyes to find himself outside the spire again, but something had changed. The snow was gone, the sky bled orange, and the village bell was ringing too many times. He stumbled down the hill. His boots crushed strange tracks in the now dry earth, long-clawed and bipedal. When he reached Eldon Hollow, it was no longer his village. The square was filled with people, but not people. Their faces were smooth, skin pale, their mouths too wide. They moved like puppets missing strings, jerky and perfect. And in the middle stood a figure wearing his mother's face. She turned. Welcome home, Rowan. He stepped back. No, you're dead. You died 5 winters ago. We never die. We replicate. You saw us. You let us in. He ran. The only place left was Mydra's hut. But even it was changed. Inside, the air shimmered. She sat by the hearth, eyes black, lips stitched shut. In her lap, a book lay open to a page that pulsed like flesh. A single word pulsed on the page in black. Remember. Rowan touched the ink, and suddenly he was somewhere else. A chamber. Metal. Not earth. Humanoid beings floated in jars. Their faces all familiar. And on a table, a map of Eldon Hollow, marked in glowing symbols. This had all happened before. Hundreds of years ago. They had come, failed, left their spawn behind. We are echoes, said the voice in his head. And you are our memory. He fell to his knees, weeping. And for the first time, the creature inside him answered. You are not the first Rowan. Stared at the figure in the mirrored wall of the chamber. It was him. Same eyes, same scar across the brow. But something was wrong. The copy moved slightly out of sync. When he stepped forward, it smiled a second too late. You were never whole, it said, only borrowed. He reached for the dark iron blade Mydra had given him. The reflection did the same. But while his hand trembled, its hand was steady. Then, movement behind the glass. Hundreds of Rowans, each subtly different. One with eyes too wide, one missing a mouth, one with antlers. All of them stared back. You are a host. We tried many. Only you remembered the pain. He stumbled backward, falling through a thin curtain of membrane. On the other side, he was back in the woods. But the trees were wrong. Their bark was fleshy. Their leaves breathed. And the wind whispered with the voices of the missing. Sophie, Marek, Bryn, Each voice told him a story he didn't remember, a life he hadn't lived, a decision he never made. "You are all of them," whispered the forest. "You chose this form. We only mirrored it." Rowan ran. Branches tore his skin, but no blood came, only black mist. He fell into the snow at the village's edge, gasping, and found the bell tower burning. The villagers stood in a perfect circle, silent. In the center was a faceless creature, but it no longer wore his face. It wore Mydra's. She raised a hand. "You were the last." Then the creature turned to him, eyes hollow voids. "Now we begin again." Rowan screamed as the earth cracked open beneath him, and from the chasm rose the original form, long-limbed, glistening, a face like glass, containing all their memories. It stepped toward him, whispering. The mask becomes a man. Horror had become more than a feeling. It was a place. Rowan now stood in the core of the thing, the heart of the false earth, beneath Eldon Hollow. Around him, organic walls pulsed like veins. Each beat echoed with the memories of the taken. He was surrounded by cocoons again, but this time they spoke. "Rowan, you must end this." It was Marek's voice, then Sarah's, then even Bryn's, her words trembling from beyond death. "Burn the nest." Rowan stumbled forward, clutching the blade. The creature stood at the chamber's end, vast now, no longer humanoid. Its limbs extended into the walls, the ceiling, the sky above. "You want to end what cannot die?" it asked. Rowan's voice cracked. "I want to remember who I was before you, but you were never you. You are the collection, a skin of stories, a perfect shell. Then let it break." He raised the blade, but before he could strike, a hand caught his wrist. It was Mydra, but not Mydra. Her eyes glowed with white flame. She leaned close. "I brought you here." Rowan's world shattered. She continued. "We called them. Decades ago. Before the wars. Before the hunger. I was a guardian, but I failed. So I seeded the memory in you. You are the weapon, Rowan. You are the fire." The blade in his hand burned. Not iron anymore, but light. The creature roared. The chamber cracked. Cocoons split open. Screams and memories flooding the air like black fog. Rowan plunged the blade into the core. There was no explosion. Just silence. A silence deeper than death. Then light. Not blinding. Gentle. A new sky opened. He stood in a meadow. Alone. No creature. No village. Only a book at his feet. Its title, The Memory Field, by Rowan something, but the last name was gone. He looked up, in the reflection of the book's cover. His face was not his own. Own! It wasn't his anymore. Rowan stared at the reflection on the book's cover. The eyes looking back at him were too wide, too still. The smile wasn't his. He turned the book over. The back cover was blank. He opened the first page. There were hundreds of names inside, some familiar, most not, each followed by a short line. Became, and under the last name, Rowan Elder, became. He shut the book. The wind picked up, but it didn't sound like wind. It breathed, like lungs exhaling a long-forgotten truth. Then, footsteps behind him. He turned. A man approached across the meadow, dressed in a tattered cloak, his face obscured by a hood. Rowan raised the blade instinctively, but it was gone. Just his hand now. "You remember too much," the man said. "Who are you?" Another echo. The hood dropped. It was Rowan, another version. Older, tired, ashen. "We keep coming back," the older Rowan said, "to stop what we started. But we always end up feeding it." Feeding what? The field, the memory, the god beneath. Suddenly, the meadow rippled, as if reality breathed in reverse. The sky cracked open, revealing a circular pattern of eyes, blinking in unison. "You still have a choice," said the older Rowan. "Step out and forget, or stay and become." Become what? The mask. Rowan stood at the edge of the field. One step forward, and he could forget it all. One step back, and he would take the creature's place. He took a deep breath and turned around.